Let's take a look at some charts on Stellar from this week's article on Brave New Coin. So Stellar and Ripple are very similar. Here's XLM down here in the market cap. Here's Ripple here just below Tether in the market cap. They both use validators. They both are sort of trying to capture the same addressable market in the Swift competitor, settlement layer competitor. Do we actually need a coin sort of situation? They were both massive pre-mines, so it's important to look at who's holding what as far as circulating supply, because you can either think about it as 100 billion circulating supply, or you can think about it as this slice of circulating supply is owned by this person and they're selling at this rate. That would be Ripple, for example. Now, XLM late last year burned 55 billion XLM, bringing the overhead supply glut, however you want to call that, way down, by half. So they still own, the Stellar Foundation owns, I think it's 20 to 30 billion XLM. So there's a ton of XLM still waiting to be trickled out onto the market, which over time is going to certainly dampen the price of XLM. So unless massive buying comes in, same thing with XRP, unless massive buying comes in, this constant steady stream of selling is just going to hurt the price. Any whale holding a large amount of coin who's steadily selling is in general going to be bearish for a coin. Comparing Ripple and Stellar directly, if we look at market cap, transaction volume, fees, transactions per day, daily active addresses, and GitHub commits, in general, XLM is really only leading in daily active addresses and GitHub commits. It's really quite behind the other regions. You can say, well, the fees, it's probably a good thing that their fees are lower. They have fewer transactions, but more daily active addresses by a wide margin. So that's kind of strange. The networks are similar, but different enough that you're going to get differences in some on-chain stuff like this. So obviously the big disparity question mark is the market cap. And to me, the question is always, is Ripple actually worth anything? Is XLM worth anything? That's for the market to decide, but in my heart of hearts, it really makes you wonder sometimes why these networks even need a coin to transfer value. If you look at fees, here's Ripple up here. Here is Stellar down here. And in general, Stellar's been cheaper than Ripple to send historically ever since the network started. Part of this is transactions. Another part of it is just the network itself has different fees attached compared to Ripple. If we look at transactions per day, which are in the millions now, or we're in the millions, slightly below a million here now, and average transaction values, you can see this spike is where they burned, they being the Ripple or the Stellar Foundation, burned this 55 billion that they were holding, trying to give away, but nobody seemed to want. So they burned it. That's this big spike here. It'll be there forever. But in the average transaction values pretty much haven't gone anywhere over time, despite transactions per day increasing substantially. So that's kind of weird. Typically, if you see transactions increase 5-fold, 10-fold, you'll see average transaction values come way down. So to me, it just says there's a lot of churn on chain, and there's probably more than meets the eye as far as transactions and average transaction values than this is leading you to believe. Because to me, it's like, oh, this is incredibly bullish. We have all these, we have 5x the transactions we did in October 2019, yet all the values, it's not DApp related. It's not like settlement related. It looks like people are sending value, but I don't think that's the case. If you look at the circulating supply in the fill and number of holders on the network in the line here, you can see both of these are generally rising. Number of holders has certainly risen faster than circulating supply since 2018. So this is a picture you want to see. If you're bullish, you want to see more people holding and interacting with the network. You want the network effect to grow if you expect the coin value to grow. You want people to continue to hold on to supply if you expect price to go up. Here is monthly active addresses in the fill and NVT in the line here. NVT is an inverse metric of economic utility. And if you weren't paying attention to the y-axis, you'd say, wow, NVT went way down. This is the it's a false decline in the number because that wasn't really organic activity. It was, them burning tokens, so whatever. And it's course corrected and readjusted basically back to the previous range. But if you're looking at this y-axis, or not looking at this y-axis, you'd say NVT dropped way down. This is bullish. It's sort of back in the lower range. This is bullish. And you can't compare NVT from network to network in general, but to see NVT near 1,000 just says, compared to all these other networks, no one's really using XLM in ways that people are using BTC, LTC, which have NVTs in like less than 100. So there's some weirdness with NVT again on XLM. So it's like, okay, if none of this on-chain stuff matters, how do we even evaluate the fundamentals here? Active addresses should hold true on all networks in that, again, you want active addresses rising. So to see active addresses fall since April, May 2019, not bullish in a vacuum. It's definitely flattened out. So it isn't continuing to decay like some other altcoin networks. So it's bearish, but not ultra bear. And yeah, I think the NVT just is not useful here. This is probably the most bearish Google Trends you can look at for any coin. So I look at all the Google Trends because they tend to match grassroots organic growth of interest for a coin. So anything you can that has a name that makes sense. So Stellar's pretty unique. You can search by protocol on Google Trends. So to see searches go way up during the bubble and then go to zero over the past 2 years, that's really rough. And it's even on the bottom. This is just zoomed in since August 2018. It's even pushing lows over the past year and a half or whatever it is. So there's definitely just no interest in general on Google for Stellar. Now, aside from all the fundamentals I just said, where I was kind of saying it's bearish, it's bearish, it's bearish, because that's what it is. In a vacuum, you look at that stuff, it's bearish. The technicals, on the other hand, don't look bearish because they almost look pre-breakout like ZRX. So ZRX is a post-breakout chart in that there was this multi-month horizontal that price was just banging up against and couldn't break. ZRX is now on the upside of that. This is what I expect for Stellar as well. I expect Stellar to break up here. This is the daily chart. This is the 50. This is the 200. Yearly pivots, VPVR, RSI. 5200 is bullish for the first time since 2018, mid-2018. You can see not quite bullish, not quite bullish, not quite bullish. Finally, we get a bullish flip. So that says bullish momentum is more likely than bearish momentum. It's above the 200 pretty convincingly for the first time, again, arguably since mid-2018. It's back in this support resist VPVR zone. So it's going to have a fight to get out of the 0.081 area, even 10 cents. To get above that, it's going to take some time, I think. But if it can start peaking above this yearly pivot, the next target will be 13 cents. Anything beyond that in the near term, like 6 months from now, we'll see. But it does looks like it's bottomed. I mean, that's just plain and simple. It had 3 lower lows, and now it's returned to the horizontal. So if anything, you might expect another higher low, and then maybe another higher low. If this is just absolutely grinding out for the next 6 months, you could get this massive V taper thing where it finally breaks the high at 10 cents. I think this is definitely a bullish picture overall, though. This is the 2-day cloud, and it's just pretty obvious that it was below the cloud, just banging on the cloud for 2 years. Can't break above it, can't break above it. Finally, we flatten out. It's finally just pushing above the cloud, and cloud likes it. The only issue here is the TK disequilibrium. Just says the averages will need to move up to price most likely before it gets higher highs, so some more grinding sideways. But I think into 2021, Stellar USD has a good chance. Here's Stellar BTC. This is again since late 2018. It's been below the cloud on the weekly chart. And if I'm showing weekly charts on altcoins, I'm usually pretty convinced that there's a trade to be made here. You can see a decent case for an Adam and Eve, which is a bullish reversal pattern. It's got a 1618 and measured move target between 1K and 1250 sats, which is also the key unit on the cloud here, another key level for mean reversion. And again, there's this TK C-clamp thing where the TK lines are super spread apart, or they were, and now they're starting to get closer and closer together. So that all in all, this is leading me towards the short side is getting weak. The momentum is slowing down, and that's pretty obvious based on the sideways duration here. And if you want to get super bullish, an E to E and edge to edge on this cloud, so an entry here and a touch here would bring you to 2800 sats. I don't think that's going to happen in 2020. I don't think it's going to happen in 2021. Might happen in 2022. I don't know. But at this rate, it's just going to want more grinding. Daily cloud also flattening out for Stellar BTC, and this is what you want to see. All these charts are just variations of we've stopped going down. That's pretty obvious. And there's plenty of support to the downside, volume support here. Yearly pivots at 1500 sats, so similar to the weekly chart, similar target there. And then lastly, just looking at another different type of analysis like Coffeean accumulation. It tends to fit this stereotyped pattern where it bounces between levels in a certain way and then eventually breaks out when it is above the resistance zone around 900 sats. So all in all, both the USD and BTC pairs look bullish despite fundamentals looking mediocre at best.